You just need to bring back the times where you can just hit your wife.
He's basically saying that's real misogyny. What's happening now, how men still do those things. Again, let's ignore that. But all the things that men do now to women, that's not real misogyny. You guys should be lucky. You women should be lucky that at least now you can call the police. Even
so
though
if there's so much peace within the women in first world generations, why is it that your antidepressants rates keep rising?
He said at the beginning of this video, he had the stats. He ain't produced one stat. Nothing he's saying is accurate. None of it. If men were smart, which we're not, but if men were smart, we would like stop talking about women. Just as a group, we would just stop talking about women. If you guys were smart, you would just stop talking about women. Because every single time you open your mouth up and you say something about women, about marriages, you confirm everything that these women are saying about marriages, about men, about the dynamics that take place in relationships. You confirm it. You literally confirm it. I'm listening to it. I'm sitting there going, if I was a woman and I came across this content, right? Let's say I was on the fence and then I was like, I don't know about the things that these feminists are saying. I just don't know. And then I come across a dude like this talking, I would be like, all right, no. Okay, it's over. The women are right.
You just need to bring back the times where you can just hit your wife, and if she calls the police will come to your door, and they be like, yo, why'd you hit your wife? This bitch was getting out of line. Yeah, we're sorry for interrupting you. Go put that bitch in her place.
Now, it says bring back real misogyny, right? And his version of real misogyny is essentially like the most extreme versions of abuse, which is like beating on a woman, as if men still don't beat on women, first and foremost. So let's put that to the side. But he's saying he's recognizing the patriarchy and what it does and how it protects dangerous men and how it harms women. He's saying he acknowledges that there was a point in time in this country where a man could lay his hands, could lay his feet, elbows, headbutt a woman, whatever he wanted to do to a woman, and she had no protection from the system. There was no protection offered from the system. So he's basically saying that's real misogyny. What's happening now, how men still do those things. Again, let's ignore that. But all the things that men do now to women, that's not real misogyny. You guys should be lucky. You women should be lucky that at least now you can call the police. Even though the police don't even be arresting nobody. The police be letting the men out. The police don't follow up. The police ignore, even though ignore all of that. Ignore all of that. He's saying that now the misogyny isn't real. What he really means is it's not as extreme as it was back in the day. And this is what men do all the time. This is what I talk about this all the time, how men talk about that there are these more extreme versions of men. There's these like worse versions of men. There's this worse version of patriarchy that exists, right? So you should be happy with this watered down version of the patriarchy. You should be happy with this watered down version of misogyny. They give you two options. They act like there's not a better option than the two options they give you. And the two options they give you is, let's go back to the 1950s where you couldn't even call the police on a man and maybe get some protection, because nowadays you still won't most of the time. Or fast forward to now when you can at least call the police on a man. Maybe he'll go to jail. Maybe. Those are your two options. Not the third option, which is, hey, how about we actually protect women? And how about men do so by not being harmful towards women? Men not practicing misogyny as a group. How about that? How about we get rid of the patriarchy as an institution? No. Your only two options are light patriarchy and extreme patriarchy. I just really, really want men to sit back, listen to this unhinged craziness that comes out of men's mouth every day, and tell me, why would you ever expect a woman to listen to you or take us seriously? I it's bonkers. It's crazy.
Because no one cares to. Here is a lie that is going around everywhere because no one cares to look at the data. But luckily, I have the data. Congrats.
Now, he's saying that he has the data. And before I finish the video, when somebody says they have the data, what do you think they're going to do next? Perhaps show the data? Maybe even read the data off so that we could, you know what I'm saying? We could all like follow along, right? You would think that's like going to be the next thing coming. Okay.
Congratulations. Women around first world nations are saying, oh, their marriage rates have dropped because we have found peace and education and we're making far more money. Let's look into the actual details. Let's start off with the peace, all right? The peace. So if there's so much peace within the women in first world generations, why is it that your antidepressants rates keep rising? We're talking 50 to even 70% of women now are taking antidepressants.
What stats? What stats are you getting that from? 50 to 70% of all women in America. Well, he didn't even say in America. He said he's saying in the West, I guess. I don't know. Are on antidepressants. Wow. We need to fact check this in real time. Remember, he said 50 to 70% of all women are on antidepressants. Now, this is per the CDC. This is per the CDC. It says right here, it says, the findings are featured in a new report, Depression Prevalence in Adolescents and Adults, United States, August 2021 to 2023. This new report also shows that nearly 40% of people aged 12 and older with depression receive counseling or therapy from a health professional in the previous 12 months. The second report released today, characteristics of adults age 18 and older who took prescription medication for depression, United States 2023, shows that more than 1 in 10 adults, 1 in 10 adults. So that's all adults, 1 in 10. That's about 10%, rounded up, call it 15% of adults take antidepressants. And it's not even that high, but it's 1 out of 10. You know what I'm saying? It's 1 for 10. Sure. Shows that 1 out of 10 adults took prescription medication for depression in 2023. Women, 15.3%. 15.3% of women are on antidepressants, and 7.4% of men. So women are twice as likely to take antidepressants than men. But 50% of women are not on antidepressants, or 70, 50 or either one, even worse, right? So what facts is he talking about? I'm very curious. Why would a woman listen to you when you are clearly one of two things? And you could be both, but in this case, you're either an idiot, right? Like you're just dumb. You don't know how to read stats or whatever, or you're lying. And I think it's both. I would put them together. But why? Why would a woman listen to us? You have to get up here and lie on women. Now, I'm going to let him finish with this whole thing, but I wanted to just get into that right there because he didn't show us anything. He says, I have the stats. Then he didn't show us any stats. And then he completely just made up the stats.
Taking antidepressants. If you are having so much peace, why do you need to keep throwing pills down your throat?
Again, remember what that study said. It said that 7.4% of men are on antidepressants as well. Now, the reason why there are more women on antidepressants than men is because women are more likely to seek therapy and seek help. But I would venture to say that if every man and every woman went to the doctor, I think about the same amount of men and women would be on antidepressants. Just so we're clear, I think the rates would be. I think the rate is about the same. I do. I think men and women are both depressed for different reasons, but I do think that we're both depressed as a group in this country, in this world, in the West, whatever you want to say, because it's unnatural, right? But Women being on antidepressants is an example of them finding their peace because it's peaceful. Would you rather them be depressed or would you rather them be on antidepressants? You know what I'm saying? Like if we have to choose, if the antidepressants are working and a woman goes, well, damn, I should get on this medication because I'm depressed. Wouldn't you want them to be on, get on the medication? Also, he started off the video talking about essentially single women. He's talking about single women. He's not talking about married women because he said the marriage rate is declining. So he's not talking about married women. Those numbers, that 15% of women include married women. Now, I don't know what percentage of married women are on antidepressants, but if I had to guess, married women with children are more likely to be on antidepressants than single women. If I had to, now I could be wrong about that. I could be. And I bet you even if I'm wrong, there's some other reason. It's not like they're less likely to be depressed. I think, they might be less likely to go get help, whatever the case may be, right? But I would venture to say that married women with children are more likely to be on antidepressants. That's all I'm saying. So if we're talking about single women are actually happier. Single women without children are actually happier than married women with children. I truly believe that. I know that I read the study, and then I read the study about the study that was saying like how that may not be true and and all that stuff. Cool, fine. I can believe that. So if we don't have the information on it, now I got to go with my anecdotal, you know what I'm saying? Just my observation. I think that unwedded, women who don't have children are happier than women with children that are married. That's all I'm saying.
Next, you are getting more educated. Congratulations, but what are you getting educated in? Most of you are getting degrees in useless stuff. Things that don't.
How do you quantify a useless degree? You guys have the same Kevin Samuels recycled talking points, but how do you quantify a useless degree? Remember, this is the guy that claimed to have the stats. Where are the stats? Who tells you that a degree is useless? Who determines that?
Don't produce a lot of money, and then the more educated you get, the more personal debt that you get. And I'm not just including the student loan debt.
Men have more consumer debt than women. Again, I thought you had the stats. Men have more consumer debt than women, and women are more likely to be educated than men. So what the fuck are men spending their money on then? You see what I'm saying? Because consumer debt includes debt from education, right? So if men who are on average less likely to have a degree and less likely to have educational loan debt, right? And women are more likely to have that debt. So that debt goes into the whole like average number of debt. I'm trying to figure out what the fuck are men spending their money on, because single men are not spending their money on houses and they're not spending their money on education. So what the fuck are single men spending their money on? They're more likely to own a Hellcat. They're more likely to have $1,000 car payment. They're more likely to finance a watch. They're more likely to be to spend a ton of money on gambling, alcohol, eating out. That's what men are spending their money on, like some dumbasses. That's useless. You want to talk about useless? That a Hellcat is useless. A $90,000 vehicle is useless. It's useless. You don't make enough money you don't make enough money. You don't make enough money to buy. Y'all don't make $200,000, $300,000 a year to buy no $90,000 car. Y'all are making $65,000 a year with a car that costs $100,000, with a car that costs $85,000. You're paying $1,000 a month in a car note, plus insurance, plus gas. I don't know one working class man that can afford a Hellcat, but yet a lot of you niggas got Hellcats. I don't know one working class man that can afford a Benz, a E-Class. Me personally, I don't know. And I'm talking about really afford one, because I know just because you can make the payment don't mean you can afford it. You see what I'm saying? I don't know one working class man that can afford that shit. Y'all don't make enough money to buy those vehicles, but y'all got them.
Let's pretend that doesn't exist. You start trying to keep up with the Joneses, buying things you can't afford. The minute you graduate school, you got to get a Goyard bag. You got to get a Louis Vuitton bag. You got to go on an expensive vacation you can't afford. You do all of these things to let the
That Goyard bags and Louis Vuitton ain't even that expensive, bro. I mean, comparatively, compared to the shit that I'm talking about. A Goyard bag or a Louis Vuitton bag costs as much as like 1 or 2 months payment of a car note from men. That's what I'm saying. They don't have 19,000 Louis Vuitton bags. If your car note is for 84 months and you're paying $1,000 a month, which a lot of you dudes are, $1,200 a month, how many payments is that? 12 times 7 is 84 payments. So you got 84 payments. Your 2 of your car payments out of the 84 cost as much as a bag, a Louis V, a Gucci bag, and you saying that they spending their money wrong. Y'all niggas.
world know that you're successful. Y'all saying the marriage rates are dropping because you're focusing on yourself and all this other stuff. No, pause. Men get on one knee to marry women. We've all been in relationships before. Definitely, we've all been in relationships before. So, did your boyfriend get on one knee and offer to marry you? Probably not, right? You don't offer to marry him. He offers to marry you. So if you're dating somebody and he's not willing to marry you, not get engaged to you, but marry you, he doesn't see you as a wife.
This is the men control marriage shit. Sir, I don't know if you know this, because you said we've all been in relationships, but let me tell you something. Me and my wife, before we got married, we talked about being married. I knew she wanted to be married. If I was talking to my wife prior to us being married and she was like, yeah, I don't really know about marriage, I'm probably not going to propose to her. Or if we've never talked about marriage, I'm probably not going to propose to her. You don't think that has something to do with the woman?
Women do better statistically, younger or older, when an older man, a more established man, is right by their side. When you do not have.
Where are the stats for that? Again, no, I'm just being honest. I'm just being clear. He said at the beginning of this video, he had the stats. He ain't produced one stat. Nothing he's saying is accurate. None of it.
That next to you, you start taking out a bunch of debt and you start chasing a bunch of hedonism and nihilism and start engaging in a bunch of narcissistic behavior. Like,
he just throwing out stuff. Hedonism and nihilism. Do you know what hedonism is and do you know what nihilism is? You definitely don't know what a narcissist is.
Posting a bunch of videos with barely any clothes on, or walking out the house and doing the same exact thing. Having an older man in general in your life that is established is better for women on all levels, especially financially, because it seems like the modern woman today, the only thing y'all care about is money, right? So the guy's gonna have more money.
Here's the thing that is stupid. So, you mean to tell me that the same group of women that only care about money are the same group of women that are getting educated and getting degrees in things that don't make any money? Remember when he said that? He said that the women are getting degrees in things that don't make any money. Remember he said that? Now he's saying that all women care about is money. And you made this whole video just so you could tell young women to date old men. That's what you made this, because you are clearly about to hit the wall and you want to have access to some 18 or some 21-year-old girl. That's what all of this is about, right? Because you can't afford a 30-year-old woman, right? A 30-year-old woman would never date you. And I could tell because I could tell a lot about, I know what shitty apartments look like, right? Because I've lived in enough of them. Look at the paint job. You can tell this dude is in a shitty rental. He don't have no money, right? And that's why he's mad, and that's why he's jealous of the women who are getting money and getting to the bag. That's why he's on here making up fake stats. I just be wanting y'all, like, Red pill dudes, y'all never ever, you can never ever argue against feminist talking points, anti-red pill talking points in an honest way. You can never accurately quote stats, quote studies, use logic. You can never do it. You have to just bounce around from point to point to point to point to point, make up a bunch of bullshit to connect your dots that never connect, and lie. That's it. You can never do it. That's why y'all, I've said this 1,000 times. That's why y'all don't stitch my videos. That's why y'all don't go at like tackle real issues. That's why y'all don't sit down and have real conversations. And I peeped something else about a lot of these red pill dudes too. I was peeping how a lot of them go live. This is just a side note. A lot of them go live, and because I follow a ton of them on this backup page, right? And I always see them live. And then you go into their lives, and you would think that they would be in there like talking about their beliefs and like breaking down stats and having these robust conversations. Nope. They're in there playing fucking video games every single time. Call of Duty, fucking 2K. They're playing video games every time. Now, I don't have no problems with gamers in general. But how do you build your whole platform on making red pill content, but then when you go live, you're playing video games? Because you don't have anything to fucking say. That's why. That's why. You can't actually have these in-depth conversations. That's why. This shit is crazy. All of that shit that dude was saying was bullshit. This is why marriages aren't working. By the way, this is why women are running away from marriages. That dude is also a reason why women are running away from marriages, but married men are the reason why women are running away from marriages. Listen to this nonsense.
Man, I'm here to tell you the one thing that I learned from being in relationships with women over the years is that you can never make them happy. You just can't. There's nothing that you can do to make them happy. All their happiness is temporary.
Happiness is temporary, but the reason why men like this say you can't do anything to make a woman happy is because they think the only thing that women want is money. That, like that other idiot. It's all connected. So these men think the way to make a woman happy is money. They won't listen to women. Women will yell at us in our faces. This is how you make me happy. They'll be shaking. This is how you make us happy. You got to listen to us. You got to treat us like human beings. You got to help us out like that, right? And the men are like, getting shook, and then they turn around and go, what did she say? Never mind. She just wants some money. And that's why, and that's what's separating men from women. You guys don't want to do the things that actually make women content. Fuck happiness. You don't want to do the things that make women content and feel safe. You don't want to do that. Instead, you want to, in your mind, you think giving her money is a thing. Now, mind you, most of y'all ain't got no money, but I'm just saying, that's what y'all think it is. And that's y'all problem.
You can be Steph Curry, worth $250 million, win 4 championship rings, take them on cruises around the world, give them children, put them in mansions, do everything for them, and they still won't be happy. So what I'm saying is that you can give them the world, and they'll want the moon and the stars. And when you give them the moon and the stars, that still won't be enough. Better alone.
Men are men's worst enemies. First of all, a man can't give a woman a child. Women give us children. Secondly, nothing he named had anything to do with Steph Curry's treatment of Ayesha Curry, right? It was all of these like superficial things from the outside looking in. He put her in a mansion. He flies her here. Steph, I don't believe Steph is doing this at all, but I'm saying, like, what if Steph is beating her though? Because you can do both of those things. You see what I'm saying? You can't treat a woman with respect. You can't treat a woman like a human being and beat on her at the same time. You can't treat a woman like a human being and neglect her at the same time. But you can fly a woman all around the world, put her in a mansion, give her a bunch of kids, and treat her less than a human being. Treat her like less than a human being. You see why those two things don't match up? You see why nobody gives a fuck about, you flew her around the world. You put her in a mansion. You gave her a bunch of money. She got a Goyard bag. She got Louis V this. She got fucking Birkin that. Yeah, but she still feels like less than a human. There you go. That's the reason This is the reason for the divorce rate. This is the reason for 70% of women filing for divorce. This is the reason why men don't want to get married, why they fear marriage and all that. All it's because of men. It is the stupid shit that men say and the stupider shit that men do.